Hello. I am reaching out today to the wealthy, the CEOs, the people who can make a difference without being forced to make a difference. I just want to reach your heart today and share some things from the perspective of just an average person like me. So I'm 63 and I live in an RV and I'm writing a song. Well, I wrote a song about that, but it's not quite ready musically, so I'm not going to sing it to you. But anyways, I don't exactly love living in an RV. In fact, I'm kind of sick of it. But in the last few years, I've gone to in the last probably 10 years, I've gone to the off-the-grid RV kind of lifestyle because of circumstances. And I'm not going to get into my own circumstances, but we all have stories. We all have circumstances. And sometimes the places we end up have nothing to do with us, except that maybe we sacrificed, and that's where we ended up. So I have no problem with wealthy people. I have lived on that side of the spectrum. I wouldn't say like wealthy, maybe close to wealthy, comfortable. And then I've lived very poor too. And I don't think it's a matter of sharing or distributing the wealth in the way like socialists do it. I'm totally against socialism. I don't agree with that at all. I know where it ends up, and I know it's not a good thing. But I also think that capitalism is a bit of a problem because we are a consumer-driven society, and everything's about, you're not enough unless you buy this, unless you do this, unless you do that. And I don't agree with that either. But I do think that there are certain things that we need to address in this society that we together, as the wealthy and the less fortunate, can work together, maybe in a think tank, to come up with ideas to distribute the wealth in a way that everybody is happy and it blesses everybody. So I think back to a Bible verse and what Jesus said about wealth, and the way he said it was, each one must give as he has decided in his own heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion. For God loves a cheerful giver. So I'm talking to those people out there that have a good heart, who have resources and are cheerful givers, that want to do something different, want to make a difference. So a couple of points I want to get to, and I don't want to make this too long, so I'm trying to go as quickly as I can, but get the point across, is the area of jobs and the area of housing. So these are two areas that need major help, and I feel like we the people can make a difference. We should expect our government to care about these things, but they have a lot going on right now and a lot to deal with, and they do care about family. They've obviously said they want us to have more children, and they want to bring back the society that we used to know as America, but they haven't really said how we're supposed to provide for those children, and I think that that's a whole area that needs to be dealt with. And if somehow we could connect with them to do it, that would be great. But in the meantime, we could start to talk about it. We need a conversation about this, because we can talk all we want about, start a family, but and America's the land of opportunity, but I feel like that's not exactly correct right now. Like when I was growing up, I feel like there's a lot more opportunity. I have children in their 30s now, and I am concerned about how they're going to make it and prosper the way we did, because I think it's different now. So I'd like to just address this and bring up the conversation about the in-between, instead of fighting against each other, socialism versus capitalism, Republicans versus Democrats, let's just talk about the nitty gritty. So jobs. First concern is jobs. What kind of jobs are out there? Well, first of all, there are jobs that are still paying like $12 an hour, and probably less than that, and I'm in North Carolina, so I think the minimum wage is $8, but I've never seen anybody actually advertising a job for $8. But $12 even is just sickening, because I was making $12 an hour 30 years ago. I don't understand how it's the same. So that's an issue. There are companies out there, and a lot of these companies are buying up all the certain types of like industries. So there's companies out there that probably can trickle down a little bit more of their money to the lower paid employees. But I don't know if we're going to reach those companies because they're not probably really listening. And I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them just probably have greedy, even evil CEOs that don't really care. But I know there's a lot of good companies out there that do care. And so that's what I'm speaking to. Like, even, I don't know your budget. I don't know your financial structure, but take a look at it and say, is there a way that I can trickle this down to my employees? Because I don't know how you got there in your position as a CEO or, someone with wealth, but it could have been you worked your butt off to get there, or it could have been that it was given to you, but it doesn't really matter because everybody's situation is different. You can't judge that. Like, a person in a lower level, you can't judge why they're there or how they got there. And it shouldn't really be, I know you can't be unconditional in the sense of just giving away things and then people taking advantage of it, but you can be willing to take a risk at least, and then you can weed through and get rid of the employees that really are just milking it. But it starts with just offering a better salary, So that's one thing. And then also, like, the types of jobs, like, everything's consumer driven. So most of the jobs I see are either customer service orientated, customer relations orientated, or always based on a product though. So very consumer driven. And then there's the healthcare industry, which is big. A lot of jobs in the healthcare industry. Well, that's because we have a lot of sick people. And, there's a reason why. I've been seeing that lately. I feel like that happened on purpose. And, hopefully that's going to start to change too. And we're going to start to see people being healthier and businesses promoting more health-driven things. And part of that is work-life balance. So that's another area that companies need to be looking at. Like, 40 hours a week should be good. And the load that you put on your employees shouldn't be that they work 40 hours and then have to go home and worry about it and work from home. Or they can't even work 40 hours. They're expected to work 60 hours and then drive a commute home and then have families. That doesn't work for anybody. It's not helpful for anybody except for the person making the money. So, those are areas that need to be looked at as far as jobs. And also, like, creativity. Like, a lot of the jobs are very functional, very management driven, or, like I said, customer service or product driven. But what about people who just want to be creative? And maybe it's not even creative. Like, I'm an artist, so obviously I've struggled with this my whole life, with this creativity thing. But what about just, like, when your kids are young and you want them to do housework? If you just say, do that housework, it never works, right? And you feel like you're just constantly, like, nagging at them. But if you make it fun, then they work and they make it a game. So maybe there's just more creative ways to make jobs that will make people want to go to work. And speaking of that, like, I don't think that we should be expecting employers to pay for everything. Like, if you want to become a parent and you want to stay home with your child, don't expect your employer to pay for a 1-year leave. You should be home with your child. I agree with that totally. And somebody should be. And if it's 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, then you need to plan for that. And that might mean you can't get the house yet. Get the apartment, get the little house. Whatever it takes, the child doesn't care. The child doesn't care if he has a house. He cares that he has love, that he has joy, that he has food. That's what he cares about. So, or he or she. So, some of that responsibility goes on the people too. But employers should be concerned about work-life balance. And then the other issue is housing. Housing is a major issue. And I know because I've struggled through it in the last few years. I went through some crises and I had to sell my land and then I had to rent. And then, you go to rent and you're in competition with a whole bunch of other people and it's all electronic and there's no personal, like you can't talk to somebody about your situation. It's just like fill out the application, even though you're not going to get it because there's people who are going to meet the criteria much higher than you, like the best credit score. Maybe your credit score is down because you have a lot of student loans, which is a whole nother area that really needs to be dealt with. There is somewhat of a scam in that area, and I'm not saying that student loans should be, forgiven, but maybe they should be cut in half or something, because I feel like I was reeled into that sort of deception with the whole student loan thing, and I wish I never did what I did because it didn't pay off for sure. But anyways, going back to the housing thing with your credit, there's the issue. Then there's having to make a certain 3 times as much as the rent. So you have all these other people who might, surpass you in that, and then you have to go from place to place. Now, forget about pets. Like, that's a new thing. Like, all these landlords want no risks, so no pets. I have a pity, so I understand people might not like that, but I have a sister has a golden retriever who is having trouble finding a rent. So, like, people have just gotten so impersonal, and there's such a loss of connection that the housing thing is a major problem. We need more, like, little house villages for seniors, for young families, for single mothers. All these things are things that wealthy people can help with. Even if they're investing in these things, they can make money from them, maybe smaller amounts of money, but there's so much you can do. And we, as the normal, or not normal, but average people, have a lot to share with you. And so I hope you're listening, and I hope you want to hear more. And I hope that we could put together a think tank where we can make some incredible changes in the way things are done and make this country a better place for our children and our grandchildren to thrive and to be excited about their futures. So if you're with me, make a comment. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll give you a way to get in touch with me, but let's start with the conversation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Have a great day.